Hello and welcome to the Brother Slim. Here for another Aeon Trespass update, but really quick channel update because it's been a hot minute. Life's been amazing, but also freaking wild, so haven't been able to do any streaming or really post any videos at all recently. Hoping to get back to it within 1 to 2 weeks for anyone curious about that kind of thing. But life's been good, just been busy and away. Alrighty, so also just for the updates that I've missed, I might follow them up with a later video, or I think some of the things touched on them are actually touched on this update, so we'll see. Maybe the enormity one, because I think it touches on more of like developmental cycle, probably not the Kingdoms Forlorn one though. Okay, so update number 70 for Aeon Trespass. Oikos, Orthros, classes and progression, Zeus, Eletherios, journey map progress, Doom, reputation system, new store miniatures, plushie, and retirement. I don't know if their titles for updates were always like this, but they're wild. I guess like they're trying to cover all of the things that they're covering in the update, but my goodness, are they wordy and full of exclamation marks. Hey guys and gals, the update's coming in hot today, so pardon any typos, but the work on 12 Sins has hit overdrive and I'm juggling half a dozen plates at the moment, some of which, coincidentally, are about balancing. Well, I'd say half a dozen, but there's also the other projects, oversight, and ITUs as a whole. A baker's dozen plates, I'd say. Let's get right into it. The new Oikos. A couple of updates back, I mentioned you're getting twice as many Heracles in summer as was promised. Each comes with their own card, abilities and vices, and a full-length personal story, which is very cool. With the reveal of classes, or should we call them jobs, good old gerbs, the number of possible combinations, even within summer itself, is staggering. More on that below. I'm expanding my own Oikos too, taking in more seasoned employees into the AT fold to help with that. What has quickly turned into ATO 2, and I'm talking just about summer. The challenges of balancing a larger number of battles, thrice the gear, the new economy, the new evolved journey, as well as character progression requires more hands on deck and more sets of eyes. Having finished onboarding, I'm very happy with the result. Work has sped up and I've gotten much more time to dedicate to both design and storytelling. Thanks to everyone at ITU who stepped up. Very cool. As an aside, the onboarding part, I'm sure took a whole bunch of his time too. So we'll see if things do get pushed back, but I think there's more on that later. I did briefly skim this before getting started. I think this is new art for us. I don't know if I think it is a new Heracles. Very cool. I like they're all just distinguished by the green eye bulges. More classes, or gerbs, just as well because I've expanded the new Heracles class system. You'll be getting twice as many with summer, that is 8, and no, before you ask, it's not about pairing them with each Heracles. You can freely mix and match characters and classes. No, it's just that the grand design here is much broader, and I'll speak about it in just a moment. I don't know what that no he refers to, but he's assuming some folks will have questions here. This sounds really, really cool. Making 8 initial classes allows me to really dig deeper into more focused archetypes, which will, in turn, make for much deeper theory crafting and character design on your part. As each class becomes much more distinct, with each unique abilities, masteries, skill bonuses, and enhancements, the last vestiges of the Nemo system are shed. Very interesting. Ironically, this also sounds very much like an RPG. Speaking of theory crafting, the new progression system gives characters much more freedom in how they develop their characters. Not only through the choice of unlocks, you won't be able to unlock everything, but also personal story choices and interactions with the hubris and reputation system. What are these, you ask? I don't want to say much about the former, I'd rather you explore in-game, but it's central to in-character progression and probably not in the ways you'd think. As for the latter, read further below. Oh, but before you go, here is a work in progress of our new class sheets template. Yes, each class will get a personalized one, so it's easier to keep track of all the unlocks and unique class traits, as well as to keep masteries handy. Very cool. It's too small to actually really make anything out, but looks nice, looks very ATO. Retirement. No, I'm not going anywhere. Still got some spunk energy left. Your Heracles, though, they will have to move on sooner or later. Life is such. He's getting us with the clickbait title. Retirement was central to ATO, with Argonauts coming and going, and the same is true for Heracles. Bah, even more so. In ATO, retirement meant your Argonaut found a happy ending or a goal worth pursuing, or stuck on the Argo, prioritizing the good of the many above their own. Yeah, I don't know if retirement, I've experienced very little of ATO retirement, but I don't know if they're all necessarily good, but they are interesting, that's for sure. In Heracles, there are many more types of outcomes in retirements, not all of them pretty. Will your character rise above their vices or follow a well-trodden road to perdition? or will they succumb to the Titan curse? These are all variable outcomes, but today I'm here to discuss the brighter side of retirement, the legacy light elements coming to the game. You see, retiring will have a growing list of benefits, some hinted at in one of the last updates. Did not catch that, I don't think. Retired Heracleides will be able to return as allies, summons, or combatants. That's sweet, like that. As retired Heracleides will be able to throw themselves once more onto the breach when the occasion demands it, and lend a hand, and their advanced abilities to any battle, probably an important one. The only snag is, you will be gambling with their happiness and life. A retired Heracleides who returns and dies in battle, dies, period. Say goodbye to that Catharsis Matrix code. Becoming a summon is a much safer prospect. Each Heracleides has a unique ability only they can use at the expenditure of an Oikos charge. Once they retire, their ability will go global, available for use in any similar way to a nymph from ATO. That's still only half of it. Although your character progression is tied to your Heracleides, some societal and psychological achievements will benefit the Oikos long after they're gone. When Heracleides retires, one of their journey abilities becomes an Oikos journey ability, accessible to any character until the end of the campaign. Cool, so you get to keep, I'm assuming they have multiple different abilities, and you get to pick one to carry on as a legacy one. Finally, and maybe most importantly, once a Heracleides of a particular class retires, they will unlock a completely new advanced class for everyone to use. Yes, that's where the 4 new classes come in. And with new classes come new abilities, new mechanics, new builds. I genuinely can't wait to see what you come up with. Cool. I think this actually kind of reminds me a little bit of what they've done with the Normandy too. So I've said this before, but I do think it's really interesting how, like, over the years, how ITU iterates on their game system and improves upon it. And you'll see various little nuggets that are present in one game start to show up in another to various degrees. So yeah, that's really, really neat. Fun picture. I think we've seen this before, but still a nice piece of art. Doom and Reputation, also campaigns. At one point, in not so distant past, Heracles was to have its Doom story folded into the general narrative. It was also to go without the ATO diplomacy system. After all, no nation will negotiate with a bunch of adolescents and young adults. However, I realized some systems are too good to pass on. Doom cards and the progression added a unique element to ATO stories, this feeling of an intelligent, relentless enemy pursuing their own goal regardless of your actions. This pleasurable pressure and, well, a sense of doom. I got rid of the timeline, but Doom crawled its way back into the design and made it whole, almost as it was there all along, worming its way to the surface like a subconscious Temenos. Cool. Yeah, I like the Doom in ATO, and again, like, we're only finished Cycle 1, can't wait to start Cycle 2, hopefully that'll be this fall, once renovations are probably not done, but are closer to being done. It's fun. It's definitely a push and pull thing, and you can use different abilities to negate it from time to time. And it's always cool progressing the Doom story, even though usually there's bad things that happen. It's cool to see things progress in a bad way while you're also making your way to the good progression too. So yeah, fun mechanic. As a result, Summer now has even more main story. In this way, the prophecy of 3 regions becoming more akin to cycles continues to be fulfilled. Do not fret though, this has not impacted the development timeline, about which some words will be dropped at the end of the update. With a larger team and tighter pipelines, we're plowing ahead. Doom. The story developments in the new adventure structure led me to another conclusion. I love the diplomacy system from ATO. It adds a secondary layer to your choices, as well as triggers new interactions, for better or worse. Heracles has factions. Heracles has individuals of such power that make nations tremble. It is the land itself, sometimes wild, sometimes endangered, sometimes hostile towards mortals. Again, for Cycle 1 of ATO, the factions are definitely present. And 2 of them I'd always get really confused on. The names are kind of similar, even though their goals are similar, but the factions are very different, if that makes any sense. And then one of them's kind of a oddball wildcard, shall we say. The different story outcomes and mechanics that do tie into the factions are really neat, though. It didn't seem like it was a big deal early on, and then it does kind of come full cycle, shall we say, and makes for like a pretty cool conclusion. So trying to be as spoiler-free as possible, but just that the factions are neat, and I'm excited to see them further along in later cycles too. Okay, Heracles doesn't replicate the diplomacy system word for word, but it does now include an advanced iteration of it, Reputation. Reputation is gained and lost through story choices, just like ATO, but also through additional mechanical actions during the journey, in stories and cities, and is reflected in the exploration and encounter decks, and much, much more. The system is also less black and white. Now, in place of the old allied to at war scale, we'll have something more sinister, a spectrum that goes from vilified all the way to idolized. Is idolized good? Is vilified bad? Depends on who's doing the elizing and edifying, I suppose. Take Nemia, for example. Will your actions benefit the warlike guerrillas or the Ophelites? Or will they be more to the liking of the ruling council of royalists? Or will you say screw them and prefer to skirt the civilization and benefit the land itself? Being in tune with nature, with Gaia, might seem noble. Nature is not noble. It simply is. And you were trapped between life of a thinking mortal and an animalistic titan. What do you think will happen to you if you shun other people? Just as a quick aside, so Marson had a comment about looking out for typos because this wasn't edited as much as usual. I say this often, but I freaking love Marson's writing. Like, it's so good. There's, just speaking in general, like, there's so much text in these games, and there's very, very few typos. Obviously, that's not necessarily Marson himself, but a lot of editing. But just this writing, it's so, so good. Zeus Alerthurios, Godform Awakening. Interesting. A new awakening comes to Heracles, courtesy of your bloodline. It's as simple as that, a new awakening, and one that isn't an Eidolon, but a good old god form. I remember when someone asked me years back during the original ATO campaign, why do I have to complicate things and call these awakenings and not simply god forms? Well, both Eidolons and Heros mode were already on my mind back then. Heros mode, do we know what that is? I don't think we do. If anyone has heard of that before, feel free to chime in the comments, but yeah, Heros mode. I don't think that's something that we're aware of yet, so Winky Face perhaps hinting at that too. Getting back to Zeus Eleutherios, which I'm probably pronouncing horribly, it will be your very first awakening, available from the very beginning of the game, so unlike ATO. It's suitably weaker than ATO Zeus, as Eleutherios represents the Sky Father at his very end, wise and noble but frail. Interesting how that kind of ties into a Titan add-on that they had at one point or other. The last legacy of the Olympians before you discover the heretical Eidolons. By the way, and this will be expanded on in a future update, dealing with changes to the Trauma, Moiros, and Kratos decks, so I'm just going to tease it here. Awakening will be made slightly easier in Heracles, thanks to the new disemboweled cards having the Awakening prompt. There will still be 3 of those. Sorry, I despise the disemboweled cards. I despise them so much. So that's like a slight little nice thing for them, at least. Okay, so fun Old Man Zeus, good stuff. Journey map developments. Those cards are busier, but also look really fun. Cool. Journey map development. Would you believe it? There's still more to this update. We're making good progress on the new journey maps with all three of summer already illustrated. The recent weeks have been spent on R&D of the new symbology and UI to make it as easy to read as possible, while also showing the most of the beautiful art. Yep, I think that makes sense. There's a clear path, all the different icons are present and whatnot, but the map is still very clear too. Cool. Okay, so these are just different iterations, I suppose. Cool, cool. This one kind of reminds me of Witcher the Old World. Cool. I don't know. Did they say which one is the one that they went with? I kind of think the first one might be my favorite, but I don't know if that's just because it was the first one I saw or not. Does that one look more polished, actually, or is that the same? I think it's the same. Anyways, we'll carry on from these maps. Also, last time I mentioned the map of Minos' Reach. I mentioned it, but it was nowhere to be found. At that time, Kickstarter still allowed 30 minutes for an update edit. Well, here it is. Very pretty, very pretty. It looks very much like the island of Crete. From ATO, Primordial Spotlight, Orthros the Bloodhound. Orthros, our first new adversary. I'm really proud of this one. It homages some of my favorite fantasy and anime tropes, while also serving as a great story to rival that of the Promethean Pursuer in Cycle 1. And what a fun battle it turned out to be. That piece of art goes frickin' hard. So we've got the one that flies, the one based off Heracles, the Beastmaster one or whatever, and then I can't remember which this one is. Turtle Shell Shield, though, looks pretty cool for sure. Damn, yeah, that art is awesome. Orthros is a master swordsman, swordswolf, and behaves thusly. He doesn't target knockdown titans, but he mercilessly punishes those who stand up to him. He's very mobile, with a unique move into range circle around, attack and jump back mode of play, requiring you to use all the new tricks you've learned during summer. Liberal use of the new Dash X ability. It's let's call it an advanced pursuit. ... is advised. Damn, that looks good. I can't tell if it's actually, do they both have swords or do they just have the one sword? I guess we'll check in the sculpture. They both have swords, cool. Just like another infamous Aeon Trespass adversary, Orthros has a separate deck The response stack, full of dueling techniques meant to confuse, disarm, and even humiliate his opponents. These are triggered by his parry X keyword, and your full misses, so don't you miss. Your life depends on it. Okay, I'm just gonna look a little closer at these cards and see if I can actually read any of them. So we've got the 1, 2, and 3. These are attacks. These are a little bit too small to read. The art looks awesome though. I freaking love that they do this. Don't see any flavor text, but there's text, so that is what it is. Also of note, Orthros is not bound by the mundane confines of the battle board and can occasionally go outside of it. When he does, the whole battlefield shifts, just like in that other battle. ... Interesting. I'm curious what he's referencing there. Wet muzzle, daring head, tender paw. So these are body parts. I'm assuming that's a 1, that's a 2, and that's a 3. So very cool, good stuff. Love all the little art. It's so cool. When it comes to rewards, Orthros is no miser. Heracles doesn't have the technology trees, but it does have crafting technique trees. More on that in a future update. Orthros comes with a 2-tiered collection of craftable gear, a forgotten battlefield, and a carcassel, as well as a generous selection of loot, some of which you can see below. 2-tiered collection of gear. I don't know if the 2-tiered collection of gear is meant to be like this is the 2 tiers, a forgotten battlefield and carcassel, or the gear, battlefield, and carcassel are all places where items are available. I'm not too sure on the wording there. Conundrum Spike. That sounds related to Cycle 1 of ATO. It is not a strange fate that we should suffer so much fear and doubt for such a small a thing. Fun stuff. That looks like some sort of support item. So unique, Elation 1, which I can't remember what that means. Soulless, I think that's a new ability. Yeah, so Labyrinth, so that it has some sort of ties to Cycle 1/Crete for sure. Club of Heracles. Don't mind me going off screen to read here. Your father was no good, save for this one thing. At this one thing he excelled. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Okay, so that is a 2-handed or 3-handed apparently. That's interesting. So 2 dice, plus 0 to hit, and a white die, which is really strong. Unique, evolving, Heracles possession. -1 movements, push back 2. If you use 2-handed, you lose 1 scratch mark. Potential, I think. I can't remember the name for it. Crit miss, gain a rage, I think. Evolution, deal a wound 5 times. Oh, that's fun. So you deal 5 wounds and then it probably evolves. Sword of Pythagora, when logic fails. So 1 dice, plus 3 to hit, 3 reds, and then there's a little asterisk there. What's that mean? Unique, power reroll 1. Rerolls are always good. Gain +1 red dice if exactly 2 other titans are adjacent to the primordial from different sides. That's cool. Oh, and he introduced 2 new titans. I don't know if we knew that. I believe we knew about more Heracles being added, but I don't think we knew about 2 new titans. So just once again, a little example about how freaking bonkers this company is about, like, here's our pitch, here's our whole game, psych, we're just gonna keep making it bigger and crazier and even more efficient in space too. Like, freaking wild. Okay, new store releases July. I can finally confirm that our new photoresin releases will drop in the last week of July, ahead of the next ATO update. As it took us a long time, I know, but A, we wanted to make sure this time we can deliver everything ASAP, and B, we don't want to drown you in a constant store drip. These resins are something I spend my free time on after I'm done with my scheduled work, not the other way around. That being said, I can say that the next store releases will drop in October, September with Persian Titans, some larger set pieces, and ... So many teases. Always a fan of the teases. Okay. Also, just from what I understand of Marston's day-to-day workload, the fact that this is something that he does outside of his scheduled work, madness. Well, here's what's coming now. The Delphian Dreamwalkers, the remastered legendary Old Flame Nietzschen, and the Nosoi Dragon along with their gear sheets. Start to look at these quick, because last time when I was reading the updates, they were available to look at, but I had to get around the house, and so I had to quickly scroll through and say bye-bye. So this update video is probably going to be a little bit long, but that's okay. It's been a hot minute. For Loctera, this looks like a bunch of Siren gear. Yep, so Spiral Javelin. Too small to read the text, but just a Siren-themed Titan is really freaking sweet. I'll probably do a video covering the store update thing. The TLDR of it, though, is none of it is essential. There's already so much stuff in the games already. This is just if you want kind of Kingdom Death style specific sets of minis per cycle, and some unique gear cards. Unique gear cards are going to be coming in a card pack, though, at some point in the future, too. Herodotus. Oh, that's a really cool take on Herodotus. Me likey. Black Ice Pickaxe. Very fun stuff. And the Dreamwalker, like the abilities and whatnot, should be the same. I don't know what these cards are, though, actually, because I can't quite read them. Solon Dreamwalker with like the assault rifle looking crossbow. Super sweet. Ulyssia with the big timepiece, sundial shields, love it. Also kind of cool having just this hand open and the shield spear thing or whatever strapped across her back. Oh, never mind. It's a katana. Heck yeah. As an aside, so like all of the new Dreamwalkers for the different cycles so far have been neat. I think these ones might be my favorite. Weakest is probably the Siren one in my mind. The theme and the idea, freaking love it. But the execution is just a little tame by comparison to these guys. It's like a slightly more static sculpt, and then just like it clearly looks like shell armor, which is great, but just doesn't look quite as inspired in my opinion. Not to say it's bad by a long shot, but everything else is just elevated by comparison. This was the Bomoy Dragon or something like that. So optional mini. And what it probably does, it might have set it up above, I can't remember, it might say before. It's either going to be a miniature that you can use to replace a different mini for a fight, and might have some optional cards to make the fight a little bit different. They've done that with the Hermesian Pursuer before. Or it might just be a collector model that has just some different gear that you can add in, which looks to be tied into Cycle 4. In which case, it might be tied into a Cycle 4. Yeah, probably is. Looking at the art and stuff, and just like the build structure, it probably is tied into Cycle 4 and might be able to replace the Cycle 4 Primordial. Once again, though, don't hold me to the fact that it may or may not have any difference. Actual cards for the fight, it might just be different gear cards that you get. Can't stress this enough. This is a true remaster. Go check the old look. It's fun that there's some new gear here too, and a Death Touched Trauma card. Very fun. Sunlight or sun niche. I don't know what that bow says. But yeah, cool stuff. Please take a careful look at the old Flame Neats Gem. The remaster work is splendid. So this is the original. This is the remaster. Oh, we actually get a, excuse me, slightly zoomed in up here. See a slightly different skull. I personally don't see that much of a difference, but that's okay. This guy's never really been my fave. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but like just in comparison to everything else that they've done and produced, like it just, even at the time, felt a little bit dated. But yeah, that's cool. Store poll results. Last time I posed a question to you. Which of our, let's call them esoteric designs, you'd like to see as a feature store release? The candidates were Tree Jumper Titan, Old Air Titan Sculpt, the Beard Nymph, or the infamous Reacher Titan. You did not disappoint and voted roughly equal for each, with a slight advantage going the way of Old Air, with a Reacher right behind her. So what are we supposed to do now, eh? No, we won't release them all. I think a revote is in order. There's still time before we have to commit. I'll hold it in another month in an unscheduled update heralding the arrival of the new store releases. Fun. So we'll probably do the store video coverage alongside that update then. So Tree Jumper was 21, Air is 29, Beard is 21, and Reacher was 27. Reacher was the kind of like Schwarzenegger looking one. I voted for Air myself. Just really cool, cool unique sculpt. These all are, though, to be fair. Okay, Pledge Manager, reminders, KF shipping, and enormity split payment. Just so nobody will later claim they were not warmed, KF is officially on the boats, and PM closes later today. It will reopen after the fulfillment is finished, probably in late August, but I cannot guarantee everything will be in stock. KF looks freaking sweet. Just way too big of a game for me, which is saying something, considering ATO and Kingdom Death are like my faves. But just too much stuff. On a similar note, our Enormity PM on Gameflight has just had its first major update, including implementation of the #1 feature, split payment. Might finally get around to updating this, which is good to know. I think I mentioned earlier, but I believe I missed an Enormity update, so I will probably go back and read that. Small production update. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the update, internally we're sticking to the development timeline introduced a couple of months ago. In short, I'm aiming to finalize the files of Heracles, Summer, Skyward Odyssey, Pathfinder, and Doom of Pythagora by early December. The rest will follow next year. That's the development timeline. However, be warned that the ongoing US-China trade war, only postponed until August 31st, may cause a rolling delay, as we cannot commit to an early production until we know its full costs. What we went through to get KF on the door amid the tariff chaos is something I will tell stories about one day. For example, normally at this point we'll be starting miniature production. We haven't done that yet. Again, nothing has been delayed at the moment. We're just being fully transparent with what we're facing. If anything changes, you'll be the first to know. Yep, that's good to hear and totally respect that. It's a wild time and we'll see what happens come August 31st. I am hopeful, really hopeful. I'm an optimistic person, so take that with a grain of salt, but I'm hopeful that things will normalize. We'll see. Plushie, what is this? Aeon Trespass plushie? No, we're not mad, right? Oh god, I've forgotten the name. Pugly, Maisie. If anything was to get a plushie, Maisie would be the one for sure. Very cute. Very cute indeed. Awesome. Well, that is enough for me. I'm sure this ended up being a lot longer than expected. That was a heckin' chunk of an update, and I was reading at a more normal, slower pace. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with the lack of video content lately. Hopefully we'll be getting back into that a little bit more steady soon enough. And yeah, take care. Much love, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye!